Hello, my name is Greg Ayotte, and I'm the Director of Consumer Services for the Brain Injury Association of America. And I'm here today with Carole Starr and Darcy Keith, and they're members of the Brain Injury Association of America Brain Injury Advisory Council. So the council are people with brain injury that offer feedback and suggestions and help spread awareness and understanding about brain injury. And one of the ways they've been doing that is by writing articles, helpful, practical articles, and doing these videos. So they recently wrote an article about living well after brain injury, and we're here to talk about that topic, specifically about that there's always something you can do. But first, let's introduce them a little bit. Carole and Darcy, why don't you introduce yourselves?
Yes, I can start. I am Carole Starr, and I have been living with brain injury since a car accident in 1999. And my injury is technically classified as, quote, mild. Oh, how I hate that word, mild, because I was only unconscious for just a few minutes. But yet this mild injury has impacted my life forever. I have been living with symptoms for 22 plus years. The injury ended my career as a teacher. I was also a classical musician, a violinist, and a singer. I had to give up that. I had to find a new life after brain injury. I am honored to have been part of the council since 2016 and to find ways to give back, to use my experiences to help others with brain injury. Darcy, how about you?
Thank you, Carole. My name is Darcy Keith, and I've been living with two sustained severe traumatic brain injuries, excuse me, since I was 22 years old. I was a college senior. The car in which I was riding was hit broadside by a semi-tractor trailer, and I was the only survivor in the back seat. My two sorority sisters sitting next to me died in the crash. My injuries included I was paralyzed on my body's right side, a brain bleed, collapsed lung, foot drop, paralyzed right vocal cord, memory loss, just to name a few. And I had to relearn everything all over again, just like many others have. So like Carole, I would also like to share my tips and tricks and things I've learned over the years to help other survivors of traumatic brain injury.
Well, thank you both for introducing yourself and coming on to kind of share some of your insight. So let me ask, we had said the article is about living well with brain injury, and specifically we were talking about what you can do after an injury. So Carole, let me ask, why is it important for somebody to focus on the idea that there is something that you always can do?
And I think it's important, like that sentence, focus on what you can do. And in my mind, those words can, they're highlighted, they're capitalized, because to me, this statement is about how do we move forward? Because after brain injury, there is so much that we can't do. Our lives are full of can't. I can't go back to who I was. I can't do the things that I used to do. And for myself, for so many of us, that causes just tremendous grief. We have to grieve who we used to be. But then how do we move forward? And I think the way to move forward is by focusing on what is it that we can do, however small those things might be. Those are the steps that help us to create a new life by gradually leaving the past behind and focusing on those small things that are possible for us, that are doable.
And Darcy,
I agree with you, Carole. And with that, I think also focusing on what you can do gives you a feeling of accomplishment in addition to everything you've said, and it provides encouragement, because if we can see the little things that we can do and we can just build on that, as Carole mentioned, I think that provides encouragement for us to continue on.
Absolutely.
Thank you both so much. So we've already kind of touched a little bit on how focusing on what you can do has kind of helped you kind of in the recovery. So let me ask, for somebody kind of earlier in the journey of recovery, what piece of advice or what tips would you share with folks who are just starting out and trying to understand this process? I'm going to start with Darcy this time.
Okay. Thank you, Greg. That's a great question. And one of the things that I did when I was newly injured, I used to participate in recreational sports in college. And so having a temporary paralysis and the weakness was very hard for me, because I like to do those things. So one of the things I had to do at first was I had to start as baby steps. I had to start with a posy, then I had to use other supports, and then walking unassisted, and just take one thing at a time. And I know that as we want to be back as where we are before, we have to take steps literally one step at a time. So that's what I would say to a newly injured person with a brain injury, is that it's going to take little steps, and that's okay, but you'll get there.
Very, very
Yeah.
true.
And Carole?
And I think kind of building on what Darcy said, I think being open to trying something you've never tried before. I know that for me, the more that I tried to go back to who I was, even with small steps, I couldn't do it. And that brought on all that tremendous grief, that I had to try new things, something I'd never done before, because things I'd never done before, they didn't bring on that tremendous feeling of loss, because I didn't have, and there was nothing to compare myself against. So I have my little prop today. So this was actually the very first thing, focus on what I can do, that I did. This little paint by number, that I found my way back through crafts. It was really odd for me because old Carole had no interest in this kind of thing. For new Carole, there was this little voice inside me that was saying, make something. I wanted to do things with my hands. And at first I ignored that voice for quite a while, because it's like, who the heck is that? This is not Carole. It wasn't old Carole, but it was new Carole. And so I had to become open to trying something new. I could only do this for 15 minutes at a time when I first started. And I'd be so tired, I had to take a nap for a while afterwards. But in all honesty, I can draw a line from that paint by number that I did, 20 something years ago, to the fact that we're doing this video now, because it opened up doors. Because when we try something new, it can open doors that we don't even know what they're going to be, how it's all going to work out. But that sets us on a path. The more that we focus on what we can do, taking those baby steps, trying new things, those are steps that are going to lead us to our new lives.
That's so well said. One of the things we hear a lot from talking to folks on the helpline to the Brain Injury Association is it's very hard for folks to wrap their heads around the time frame of recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's much, much longer than most people anticipate, in part because you have to push yourself out of your comfort zone and start small things. And those small things, one by one, build up to a nice solid foundation for kind of recovery and figuring out what's next, what is next. Well, thank you so much for taking a few moments to kind of share your experience and expertise. We encourage folks to check out the other videos on the channel. Check out the listicle that's in the TBI challenge. Check out the challenge. There'll be other articles coming from this group as well. If folks ever looking for info or trying to find resources, you're always welcome to contact the Brain Injury Association of America. So thanks.
Thanks. Bye.